Hello, my crafty friends. Welcome to the Global SU Share Fair, August 22nd edition, and I'm glad you're here. Let me just take you right down to my little tabletop, and this is the card we're going to make. I am so excited about the squirrels. Since my logo is a squirrel, it's a little Ice Age squirrel, as I said, with an acorn. It's very cute. I'll tell you what. Why don't I just stamp that for you on here? My dear friend's son, who has since passed, this was one of his last art projects, is making a picture for my stamp. Let's see. I won't guarantee that's straight, but there's my little squirrel. And it says Nutsy on it. I am stamping with Nutsy. That is what my best friend nicknamed me many, many years ago. And while I might not have embraced it for a little while, it's probably true, because after all, don't our friends know us better than we know ourselves? Yes, they do. So we're going to make a squirrel card. May you gather happiness. I thought that was a cute saying. So let me set this aside so you can still see him, because he's a very cute little squirrel. I'll get out our supplies. I have a nice piece of basic white. I've already cut out the focal image. And this is the traditional labels. And when you cut these out, you have to be a little careful. I tend not to be careful, unfortunately. You can kind of pull these out of shape because they've got loose, can you see that on the side? But they're attached to the corners. It's just kind of an interesting look, don't you think? So I've got that already cut out. But we're going to stamp a squirrel. We're going to stamp some acorns. And we need to stamp a sentiment, but I have a smaller piece for that today. So there's our stamping. This is that beautiful champagne specialty paper. And I was thinking that it was gold, but it really is champagne. Not quite a deep gold, but isn't that pretty? And I love all the colors. It's making me get ready for fall. The embossed layer, because the embossing folder is so large, let me put this on the way it would go. I went ahead and embossed an entire piece. So it's 4 inches by 6 inches, and then I cut it down to 5 1/4. So I have a piece for the inside. Speaking of the inside, you know, you've got a pretty outside, you have to have a pretty inside. I have a piece of basic white for the inside. Okay, we've got those. And the card base. We need a card base. Mine is, I like a 10-fold card base because it stands up so nicely. Great for taking pictures, for sitting on a mantle. Here's the inside. So the first thing I want to do is I want to decorate this. I mean, it's a little plain. Honestly, crushed curry is not my first choice, generally speaking, but I thought with this card it would be really nice. So there's a little hashtag type stamp. And let me find my pecan pie. Here it is. Well, open it up. Don't you just love it when they work like they're supposed to? You just press on the back. We'll see. Now it's not going to do it. And it pops open. And then you can slide it. Makes life so much easier than having to fight with it. Okay. So I just thought we would do a little cross-hatching in opposite corners. And a lot of it's not going to be seen. So I'm not too worried about where I'm putting it. Just want to make sure that there's a hint of something behind. Whoops, almost put my finger on that. That would not be good. Well, that wasn't very well done. But as I said, most of it's going to be hidden anyway. So we'll close up our pecan pie for the moment. I'll put the early espresso over here also. That's going to set aside for just a bit because I want to build my focal piece. I am just going to glue this down. And since it's going on a layer that's been embossed, I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue so I get a good adhesion. And I just thought an angle would be fun. So often we do everything straight. It gives plenty of room to see the embossing. I know what I forgot to do. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see. We can do it a little bit. With a two-tone cardstock, it's really lightweight and it's got that white core. So let me grab my, this is from my nail file box. Let's see if we can get in there and just do a little bit of sanding on it. Let's get some white showing because that's going to look pretty. Nice. I wasn't sure I could do this. I really meant to do it before I put that down. But this is a lot less work. So go ahead and put your designer series paper down and then do your sanding. That's my new recommendation. And we'll do the same with our little strip. That's going on the inside. And it's 4 inches long by 3/4 inch deep, I think. I think that's where I made the cut. I thought, and I hope you agree with me, that this could benefit from a little bit of this great linen thread. It's a fun color. It's old olive. And so I just took it and I wrapped it around 3 times. So I have 3 edges. And then I took, okay, I don't do these things on camera and I'm going to waste some linen thread and that's okay. Because instead of keeping it on the spool, I'm just going to cut it off and tie my, oh, I did get a little carried away there. Oh well. I'm going to tuck it under. And then I'm going to tie my knot. I'm going to pull it tight. I'm going to tie a knot. Oh, I lost one of my loop arounds. That's why it was so long. The nice thing about this is you can just pull it off. And with the help of your take your pick tool on the pokey end, it's not too awful hard to untie normally. There we go. Fake nails are a little thick to do that. Oh, also, don't worry if you go off just a tiny bit, because remember this is 4 inches and our card is 4 1/4 inches. So we've got a little leeway. Let's see. Let's get a little bit less there. One more there. Now I've realized that it's a little short. Well, silly me. Not the end of the world. Because I'm just going to tie a knot instead of tying a bow. I can always come in and do another bow and tie it onto here. So here we are. If your linen thread gets a little bit loose, you can always tape it on the back. So many ways to fix little problems because you know there are no mistakes in card making, just opportunities to be creative, which often involves embellishment. Again, there I go with the shiny stuff. I just like to have those separated a little bit. It's not bad. maybe pull it over a tiny bit. If you need to move it around, just give it a little slack by just bowing your card a tiny bit. Now let's see what I've got here. Let's take another piece and tie a bow. I'm just going to do bunny ears. No, I'm not. I'm going to bring in my bow jig because I love my bow jig. This is kind of nice too because it'll be a little fuller bow. Clip that off. This gives me a little double loop by wrapping it around twice. And then you can adjust and pull these a little bit. And I think I might just trim that one anyway, and grab a glue dot because I'm all for doing it the easy way if possible. Just kind of roll my glue dot on my take your pick tool. And I like bows and everything to stay in place, so let's do one under the knot and do a second one under the bow. Once I get things where I want them, that's where I want them to stay. I'm very picky about that. Just going to put this down on top of the knot, put the bow on top, and with linen thread it is so thin that really you can do things like this. So we actually have two little ends on each side. And now this is ready to go on the card. It's going to stretch those out a tiny bit. And I have dimensionals right here. So let's anchor down the middle one there. We'll anchor down this one here. I don't know why these tend to break out in the middle. Here we go. I'll take off those dimensionals. I moved my garbage can, which is already proving to be a problem. Do you do that when you move something? Then you can never quite reach it again as quickly and easily. So I'm going to move my garbage can back over to this side. I think I have room for it. We will put our layer down and pretty much centered. So there's the base of our card. Well, I've got this piece of basic white here, and I've got my glue, and I've got my little strip. Let's go ahead and put this on. Because the fewer pieces that are sitting in front of me, the happier I am. Now, if you're going to emphasize your pattern on the two-tone cardstock, be sure that you put the leaves going the correct direction. I have been known to put things upside down, so I try to double check. Not always successful, but I try. My husband used to say I was very trying. I have a feeling he meant something entirely different. Okay, here we go. A little seal plus, not a lot, just a little, to hold this in our card. Let's see. I'm going to line up on the bottom. Put it down. Now we'll set that aside and we are going to work on our focal piece. This is actually where the fun part comes in. On this card, I stamped my tree stump and pecan ink directly onto the cardstock. For this card, we're going to stamp and hand fussy cut. Yeah, we're going to fussy cut. Okay, get that. Here's our pecan pie. We're also going to do some coloring. So there's our stump. We're also going to have acorns. And I did those in early espresso. So let's do well, we're going to do 3. 3. And we can use the punch for that. Unfortunately, I made a choice. And there are 2 squirrels in the stamp set. One faces left and one faces right. And I decided to build my card so that I would use the one that faces to the right. The one that faces to the left you can cut out with, let's see, with the stamp, with the punch. The one that faces the right, I had to fussy cut, but it wasn't hard. I promise, it wasn't hard. So I use full strength ink, first generation, for my outline. Isn't he cute? And actually, I should be stamping because it's photopolymer. I really should be stamping on my Pierce mat. And here's his little body. And make sure I've got that nicely inked up with my early espresso. I do not want to stamp this directly on. I want second generation ink. So let's stamp off once. And then if my head gets in here, I am very sorry. But I want to get his little eye lined up, and his feet and his ears. And then the rest of the stamp just kind of follows. Isn't he cute? I was off, but he is cute. Let's do it again. I can do it right here. My envelope just went for a little. I didn't have such a problem last night. Okay, there he is. And let's stamp off, making sure I got that bottom also stamped. Didn't get the tail stamped. I wonder if one of my problems is I did it on my Pierce mat last night. I'm going to stand up, so you're going to get kind of a strange view of me, but it is much easier to see if you stand up. There he is. Or maybe it's a she. It could be a she. There is a part of the tail that is not covered by the stamp. And I noticed that on both of them. A little white part. So let me cut this part out. And get this out of the way. And see, it's nice, clean lines for cutting. I like to leave just a little white along the edge. Doesn't mean that I don't sometimes get a little carried away. And I turn the paper with my left hand while I cut with my right. because I am right-handed. If you are not right-handed, you might want to do it the other way. Now, not hard, but through the magic of television. There we are. We have a squirrel all cut out. I'll finish this one later. So put him aside. Throw the garbage away. And then let's do some coloring. It's always good to have paper, something that's absorbent, because blends go through. So how shall we do this? Let's do our cute little acorns. And I just went over them with my Stampin' Blends, the Pecan Pie light color. I've noticed that I have several of my blends that are needing to be replaced, that the tips are more like brushes. And I think I'm adding Pecan Pie to that list. Then I'm going to come in and I just want to do a little shading. Because acorns are rounded, I'm just going to do a little shading on the sides so that there's a little bit right in the middle that's lighter. I just want a hint of roundness. I'm not being good at watching the time. I apologize for that. So if you need to stop it and go on to another video, go right ahead. But I hope you'll come back and see the finish. Just going to blend those in. I often have a color lifter handy to get those little edges, but I think we're going to be okay today. Then I took my early espresso and, oh, wrong end. I want the right end. But let's just take that one out. And I just free-handed some cross-hatching. And we don't have early espresso blends, so I use the marker. The markers are retiring. Now there are sets, there used to be skin tones, now they're just called deep or medium deep. I used the deep. And I went in and I wanted a little more color on the top of my acorn. So there we go. And you'll notice with the punch, the little acorn sits here on the left because I punch upside down because you have to see what things you're putting them. I'm just going to put in my acorn. Get it situated and punch it. And then the second one. Get it situated and punch it. And they pop all over the place. It was fun last night when I was working with these. Or was it night before last? So I have 2 acorns here. And I have 1 from the night before. As they dry, they get a little bit lighter. So there's my 3 acorns. Here's my squirrel. Let's work on the stump. I'm going to go back to my light pecan pie. The acorns are, if you wanted to make a lot of acorns and just have them in a bag with your stamp set, they are really easy to make. And all those cut off strips that you've got from your designer series, not designer series, but your basic white, just use 1 strip for that. I did that the other night and it was really quick. The dark Just take a little dark. Just going to make a little bit of, follow the lines, give it a little bit of character. And the light again, just to make sure there's alcohol to blend all that in. And of course, every time you put a layer of color on, it makes it just a teensy bit darker. And just with the squirrel, I fussy cut it, but I happen to have, oh look, there's another acorn. I had one all cut out for us to use for this video. And then it's just time to build. I used my mini dimensionals. I've cut these down a bit. Now I know that I had my take your pick tool here. There it is. My goodness. And I'm going to use the little mini dimensionals on here. My squirrel is going to get full-size dimensionals. And my acorns are going to sit here and look cute while I put Wink of Stella on them. Because something's got to sparkle with Wink of Stella. And I thought the acorns were perfect. I will put the extra acorn in my little stash. I was also thinking that the squirrel has all this white hair on his chest, and I thought that that could use a little Wink of Stella on it too. And a little bit on the tail there, around the tail. Maybe on the whole tail. Because after all, isn't that their best feature? And shouldn't we sparkle up the squirrel's best feature? I think so. I want you to know I exercised some self-control. I did not cover the whole squirrel in glitter. It was a temptation, but I didn't do it. Now there is a little stamp. The one thing about that I have to say about our markers on photopolymer stamps, and that's one reason they're being discontinued, is it really doesn't work that well. But it's better than nothing. So I used the Mossy Meadow marker, nope, Old Olive. Old Olive marker on the stem. I went over the flower. And if this sits about here, then this could go like here. And I did 2 of them. There we have 2 flowers. I'm going to put on our stump. Okay, there's our stump. I'm going to take a very light smoky slate and I'm going to give it a shadow. So it looks a little bit more natural. Here goes our squirrel. And he is going to sit right on top. I'm going to grab my glue dots. and put 3 acorns on glue dots. 3 sparkly acorns on glue dots. I really miss being able to chat with you while we're crafting. Okay. One is going between his little paws. Okay. Because what's a squirrel without an acorn in its paws? And the others are just going to sit down here at the bottom. And they may hang off, and that's okay. The only thing missing, oh, I know what's missing. We have a pretty card. We have to have a pretty envelope. So let's just grab that early espresso and give our envelope a little something. A little squirrel in the corner. There we are. And that's one thing I don't worry too much about with the envelope. If it's not perfect, I am not going to redo it. But I will try. I know, my head was in the way, I'm sorry. So there he is. We've got a little something on our envelope. And we need to stamp a sentiment. I used Old Olive for that. No, I did not. I used Early Espresso. May you gather happiness. This is actually the tip I wanted to show you. Well, it's a little crooked, but that's okay. We are going to die cut it using the smallest from the textured notes. And so let me bring in, actually, let's get the squirrel on the card first. I did not use dimensionals on this. Did I? I did not, but I am going to because I think I will like it better. So let's just do, we want to balance so that it's not off center and doesn't wobble. Here's another one. And the last one, I'll be using all my edges soon. Here we go. He is just right here on the ribbon. There we go. Now he's together. Or she, it could be a female squirrel. I'm not sure. I'm going to put this right up to the edges. Use my little bit of tape to hold it down. And I'm going to cut it out. This might be something you've done before, but it's something that I kind of forget about, that I can make my dies any size I want. I can make them longer, I can make them shorter. This has these wonderful little cut out dashes, and so I just make sure that it's secure in those because they're all evenly spaced. I can put it back down. No, it's not moving around. Put my tape on. Run it through again. And that end will be cut off. And my die will be the size I want it to fit my sentiment. Now with this, I did use a little Seal Plus that's going to sit in here, but remember I raised this up. So I'm going to put a little Seal Plus on this edge. It'll sit flat on my focal layer. And then I'm going to put a couple of the little dimensionals, the little minis, on the other end. Take off. Now, we've got a PDF for you with all the directions, well, with all the supplies, and you've got the video for the directions. There we are. And we'll put some dimensionals on. I mean, not dimensionals, a little added bling. Let's put this one down here. Oh, look. How about I put it right down here on top of one of those, whatever they are. And then I'm going to put two up on top. Let's see. The larger one over here. And a smaller one right here. There's our card. How do you like the little squirrel? I just think he's cute. Our envelope, which I just put, I'll have to do a little work on that envelope. I've got a little bit of ink on him. But here we are. This is my suggestion, and I think you'll have fun with this set. If you are inspired and just think you need squirrels in your life, please contact the demonstrator who invited you. And remember, we've got the PDF, but you need to ask for it. So let your demonstrator know that you'd like the PDF tutorial of all these. And until next time, I want to wish you a happy crafting. Bye-bye.